Stop me if you've heard this one before. Did you make that social media post? And if so, why didn't everyone show up to the event?
Today, we're talking about events, how to create events that people will actually want to be at, and then how to get them there. I'm Jason.
I'm Andrew.
And we're ArtSpeak Creative. Today is about all things digital marketing. Yeah, today we're talking about all things events, both creating them and getting the word out, getting people to actually attend them. How about that? So, Andrew, when you're thinking about promoting something, where do you start?
Yeah, well, when I'm thinking about an upcoming event, product launch, some sort of leadership material I want to get out there, whatever your big thing is, when you're thinking about launching it, first of all, you got to think through, is it a good product?
Right.
Is it worth people's time? Is it going to be something your audience actually cares about? Because if you have a product that no one cares about, you're either going to spend a lot of resources trying to promote it. It's going to be like pushing a huge boulder up a hill. It's going to take forever. A lot of resources might not be worth it. Or you'll do a really good job. Good for you. But then people will feel deceived once they get there. It does not provide the value that you promised.
Right. Yeah, I feel like the fastest way, I think I've heard it said once, the fastest way to ruin a business is great marketing and a terrible product, right? Because now more people have tried what you were selling and it didn't work. So I love that. Have something good. I know something that we talk a lot about is the communication triangle, kind of at the bottom of that. Here's us and there's them. Yeah. What really matters in our messaging, whether we're creating an event or we're promoting it, is the shared win. I've got to talk about stuff that the person I'm trying to talk to cares about, right? That's like communication 101. Yeah. So, when I think, back, when I was church planting and leading a brand new church and we're doing events, like we've got to create an event, message series. We got to create our marketing around things that people want. We got to create. So you've probably heard people talk about felt needs, dialing into those felt needs. So you have any examples, like when I mention felt needs that you see working right now?
Yeah. Well, like you're saying, you're thinking about your audience's hopes and fears. You're thinking about what your goals are and what you can offer and where they overlap. Yeah. And then when I think about those things, it's like, I like to think about things that offer apparent value, or like you're saying, the felt need that can maybe lead to the deeper thing that you want. So maybe instead of, for example, come to our Easter service, come to the service, come to this thing, and that's like your main message. Well, why should they care about that? So you could go deeper on that side, or you could put maybe an event that leads to that event. So for example, Easter service, if your audience is young families in your community doing an Easter egg drop or an Easter egg hunt, that's going to be something that hits the felt need of families having something safe and fun to do that they know their kids are going to enjoy. It's going to be a great time. They're going to feel like great parents. That's creating a win for them. But then they learn about your church's event, and maybe it's their Easter service or some other sort of event that leads away from the Easter service that's going to serve their family's felt needs. Another example could be, instead of saying, hey, external audience, maybe not familiar with church at all, come to our sermon series on the book of Luke or scripture, name and number there. Maybe your internal audience that would resonate. Maybe you're, very deep in the scriptures or something. That's great. But for your external audience, at least, and probably more people than you expect in your internal audience, like, talk about the value you're going to provide. So what are you exploring in the scriptures? Is it all about relationships? Hey, give us 4 weeks of your life, 4 weeks of being part of our community. Your relationships are going to go from here to here by the end. That's the value proposition you're making. Yeah. So when you can connect what you're doing to what your audience needs, now you might be on the track of having a good product.
Yeah, that's good. I remember one time we had a client who I asked the pastor, what do you want to speak on this summer? Like, we were just dreaming ahead. We were months out. How can we help you reach more people? He's he said, well, I want to preach through the book of Psalms. And I was like, okay, I like Psalms.
Great. Good stuff.
Yeah. And so I said, well, what do you want to see happen in your church also? And he said, well, I really want those who have never come to church to come to church. That's most of our community is unchurched. I want them to come in. I was like, okay, well, what do you want? I've got a message series. I'm going to preach through the book of Psalms. I'm going to call it Summer in the Psalms. And I thought, okay, like I've been a pastor. I've read the Bible. I love the book of Psalms. Your message hits me. but you're talking about reaching somebody who is
Mhm.
they don't know what the book of Psalms is. So somewhere
Yeah.
in the Psalms, that sounds maybe painful. We don't know what they're thinking, you know? And so then I said, well, why don't you preach to me what it is that you want to talk about? And
Mhm.
he just had so much great value and great content about how to live life to the fullest, and even in difficulty, how to live well. And so we ended up, what if we talked about it? Live. What if this is how to live well? And
Mhm.
so we ended up crafting a lot of messaging around that. And he had a great summer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So let's just say you've got the great event, you've got Live, you've got that value packed in. You've got, now what? What's the next steps from taking it from, I've got this great event we've planned, we feel like it's hitting a felt need in our community. What's next?
Yeah. Well, you got that all together. Now you need to think about how you're going to communicate very clearly, crystal clear to the audience you're trying to reach that it does, in fact, hit something they care about. So the main thing you're going to be looking at next, once again, you got the product, you got the service, you got your ministry effort to change people's lives. What's it going to sound like? What's it going to look like? What's the messaging? What's the visual feel? So that's where, again, I think you go through that same tool, the communications triangle, thinking through your audience's hopes, fears, dreams, aspirations, where God's calling them to, and how God is calling your church to serve them there. And then you can think about some value propositions. To me, that's one of the most important things, because that's core messaging you're going to go back to again and again when you're marketing this event. Just short, succinct statements, as well as, if they want to learn more, maybe some more details about what's going on, how it's going to serve them, anything you can do to eliminate obstacles. So for example, like if you're talking about Easter egg hunt, maybe they, if they haven't a good experience with church in the past, what are some things you could do to eliminate those fears? Hey, just show up and have fun with your family, that sort of thing. Instead of, maybe that helps them set aside the fear that maybe they have to do something to be a part of that event. And then same thing visually, like, is this, you just using like some like decrepit old serif font or something? Or are you, if you're trying to reach young families, maybe you have a nice sans serif font, very clean, very modern, some colors there, some energy. What do you want this to feel like when they look at the thing?
And if you had no idea what words were coming out of his mouth right now, then welcome to my club. But but I'm glad that somebody does. That's why it's good to have friends in the creative
Friends
sphere.
are good. Yeah.
But I also think what you're saying is just, you're saying like, we got to go deeper than just, how can we get more people at this event?
Yep.
We've got to go deeper than, let's just do that event or that next sermon series or that next outreach or that next promotion. Even if it's for profit or a nonprofit outside of the church world, like, how can we just promote this more, get more eyes on this? You're talking about seeing this event, starting this event from the person's perspective that you want to have attend.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah. You're discovering, like, some steps that go into that. You're discovering more about them, more about yourself, what you're trying to do there. Once you do that discovery, you're going to expand, put all the ideas out there. And I think that's usually churches or like organizations, like, they trip up in one of these two areas, either expansion or contraction. Like,
that's good.
Maybe if you're tripping up with expansion, people on your team don't feel like putting ideas out there. Or if they do, they're very cautious about it. They're like, hey, we could do this idea. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's dumb. I don't know. Like, that's usually the conversation, if they even put it out there. But instead, during that part, you want to be expanding. Here's all of the ideas this could possibly be. No ideas are off the table. Let's just expand. There's no stupid thoughts. Like, we want to hear them all. But then on the flip side, you got to contract. Yeah. And if you're bad at contracting, it might look like everyone has ideas, you never get anything done. Or everyone has ideas and you try to Frankenstein them all together for the thing. Right. And there's no cohesion. There's no center of the target. But if you're doing a good job and you kind of go through the contraction well, you're narrowing down to, here's the set of things we're trying to communicate. Here's the value propositions. If you come to this is going to happen. This is what we're providing, type of thing. And then visually, it's not going to feel all over the place. It'll be very clear. Oftentimes, especially for like events, like especially if you're doing them yourself and whether you're a smaller church or you're a bigger church or organization and you're doing a lot of these, simple is oftentimes great because then that can be very flexible visual system for when you need to put this on screens. You need to print it out. You need to run social ads, which we're going to get into in a few minutes, I know. But you need to have something flexible, both messaging and visual wise.
I love that whole creative process that you just described. It's a lot of fun to be a part of, but I love what you're saying is like, we're going to do that process with that attendee, that client, that person in mind.
Yeah.
And so let's just say we did that. Now we've got great value, great felt needs. We've got great visuals, great fonts that communicate that to the person, communicate everything that we want to communicate to that person. We got great graphics, we got great fonts, great thing planned. Okay. Now, so it's built. It's beautiful. And we think that the person that's going to see this is going to hear it in a language that they understand. How do we let them know?
Yeah.
Where do we go from there?
Well, and when I hear that, I'm like, all right, let's go. Let's just get it out there.
Yeah.
Yes, but before you do that, think through if this is just like generic marketing world, the customer journey.
That's good.
So think through the journey your audience is going to take to go from not knowing about this thing or maybe not knowing about you at all the way to they're doing the thing. So what I like to do is think about it in a reverse timeline. So like and we'll get into funnels in a second here, but thinking through like a funnel from awareness to consideration, engagement, conversion, and then there's a few steps after that, but conversion being the action they're taking. So what's that a conversion event? Maybe they have signed up and attended your Easter egg drop. Great. You want them to sign up for this event before they come. Maybe you have like a safety waiver, that sort of thing. It also helps you keep track. I'm a big fan of any step that lets you have data so you can, go up against it next time.
Right.
But you want them to sign up for the event. So, okay.
Name, email.
Yeah. They'll need to give you their name and email. Keep it simple. Where are they giving you that information? Well, probably on like a landing page or something. How did they get to that landing page? Well, either someone told them about it, they heard about it when they're at your church, or there's some sort of external effort, maybe like paid ads or print that you're doing to reach them where they're at. We'll get into assets in a second, but you're going to be taking them to a place to sign up for that. So step back from that. Why did they even look at that? Well, they considered what you had to offer, and for them to consider it, they had to become aware of it. So that was reverse, but basically going from the start, you want to make them aware of it. So you're putting it out there. They see
in language that they understand.
In language they understand. And that might not be, here's the thing. It might be like, here's the pain point, looking for something to do with your family this holiday season, something like that. Or
even we did a egg drop when I was church planting, and we had just huge turnout, a little bit more than we were expecting. But we even took it a step further and said, what happens when you drop 10,000 eggs from a helicopter?
Yeah. Intrigue.
Yeah. Intrigue.
So there's a bunch of different types of hooks you can put out there, but putting a hook out there, that's maybe on a social ad or somewhere else. They go to the source of truth about your thing. So your landing page, maybe some people right away, they were just looking for that. I'm signing up right away. A lot of other people, they probably need to consider it some more. So now they have a chance to scroll through your landing page. Maybe there's an FAQ on there saying where it's at, what to expect when you show up, who can come, who this is for.
I love when you talk about that, because really the whole journey, when you talk about the customer journey, you're really talking about the questions. So you mentioned having an actual FAQ part where you're answering questions, but really whether it's the first ad or this whole thing, we're just trying to answer the questions that might be in their head all along for each step.
You're trying to remove all the obstacles you can so that they take that action on your page.
That's good.
Or wherever they're supposed to take the action. But they take the action. And maybe even between that, there's some engagement where they're like, they message you on social media, they comment they're excited for the event maybe, or like, hey, can I bring all of my kids, or is there a certain age range? So there might be other forms of engagement and consideration happening, but then they get to the actual conversion event. Like, okay, here is my name and email. I plan on bringing my 2 kids to this event with my spouse. Okay, awesome. you don't want to stop communicating with them then.
Right.
Like, cause there's another stat you can measure of people that signed up versus people that actually attend, or people that bought the product and people that actually use the product.
Right.
Cause so many people, you know, you get like a million emails. I spend like probably 10 minutes a day deleting all these emails I don't care about. So how can you communicate that you care and get them from, okay, I signed up for the event, I'm going to for sure attend the event. So you want to have some communications between sign up and attendance that will help eliminate obstacles, make them excited for the event, maybe invite more people to the event. I mean, that's not a bad thing for you, right?
Right. Yeah.
So there's those steps after conversion of retention and advocation. So retention, you're retaining them as, you know, if again, it's marketing world, a customer, or as if it's church world, like as a member of your community. That's both retention. Like, yeah, I'm going to come to the event, but also after the event, thinking through what's their next step, and then making them advocates. They're inviting more people to your event. They're telling more people about your product. They're getting it into more people's hands. And that's going to be way better than you trying to tell people that, because these are real people that really love what you do.
Yeah. Again, you're laying out a lot of work behind the curtain, like, and even behind the things that you create. And it's heart work. It's empathy.
Yeah.
Is that where, you know, it's you're putting yourself in that person's perspective from the beginning of the event. What do we want them to feel? What do we want them to, what decision that they want? What felt need are we serving?
Yeah.
What are we creating for them? Making sure that the things that are communicate that value to that person, and then creating this journey for them.
Yep.
So now let's just say we have all that. We have the journey now. How do you help them take that journey? Because we've done our best to remove the roadblocks, but that doesn't mean that they're going to necessarily take the journey. How do you help them on that track?
Yeah. Well, when you know the journey, then you can put foundational assets in place that will help facilitate the journey, many of which I just mentioned. I'll mention again real quick. And then after you have those foundational efforts, you'll be implementing the steps. You'll be putting the stuff out there. You'll be talking about it on social. You'll be sending the emails. You're telling your congregation, invite these people, send them here. But you're doing all this just to keep it in mind. Like, there's almost no one that goes from 0 to 100, like, for anything. Like, if you invite someone walks in your church lobby, the first thing you say to them is, hey, tell me all your deepest, darkest sins, all your deepest, darkest secrets. They're probably going to walk out think you're crazy.
Yeah.
But instead, no, you're inviting them to service. There's a life-giving message. Maybe they get in a small group, and it's like in that small group or discipleship track where they have these deep heart conversations. So again,
and that might be a period of months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just put that out there for us to think about, like, you know, kind of break up, like, there's a lot of marketing terms in here, but this is really ministry. This is really about people. Like you're saying, it's about empathy, having empathy for people.
Yeah.
So what are the things, the efforts you can do to facilitate that? So some foundational assets that we're a fan of, landing pages and communication flows. So landing page, the one source of truth. You don't want like 8 QR codes and 8 different places they can sign up. And, I got some of the information from this person at the desk and some of the information from this printout, and some of it's on the website. You want one source of truth. That's a tool for everyone, both on your team and those trying to find out about it, that they can go to, and they can take the essential step. So the good landing page, source of truth, eliminates obstacles, facilitates next steps.
Well, and hopefully it's easy to find, right?
Yeah.
For that event. Like, so one thing we did that worked well for our egg drop, because we were talking about Easter promotions there, is we had our own domain. It wasn't even the church / something. So when we promoted it, people didn't have to go to our church site and then kind of weed through all the things that we do and think and have happening. They just went to egg drop stl.com. You know, it was like, this is where that one source of truth for that one event was. So that now they don't have to, they don't have to be a part of our church to come to that landing page or come to that event.
Well, then even people at your church too, like same thing. Cause one of the things like I get a little frustrated about is like, oh, why didn't people know about this? We talked about it in service 8 times. Right. You know, it's in the bulletin or whatever for weeks. There's like a t-shirt about it's been in the bulletin for weeks. Like, why didn't you know about it for church communicators? And I'm like, well, maybe you didn't communicate. Like, do you have like a million things in there? Cause like just blasting out, here's a bunch of information. No one cares about that. It's just lost in the noise. So decide what's important and then, put it out there in a way that's like if you just say it's on the website, well, where? Like there's like, I could go to events, I could go to About Me, I could go to all these places, and then maybe feature it on the homepage of your website if it's that big of a deal.
Sure.
Like have a section on there. There's a lot of things, but
it links out to that landing page. Yeah. So it's one source of truth. So we have a landing page. What other foundational
landing page,
pieces?
And then communication flows. So for example, that could go two ways because there's two tactics I really like. If it's let's say this is a sermon series about relationships, and you're particularly doing this series so that way people in your area, both in your church, so they want to grow in their relationships, but then they can invite people, or if people outside your church hear about this, they want to grow in their relationships. A lot of tension, maybe like in their marriage, their friendships, workplace, whatever.
Huge felt need right now. So if you got nothing else out of this video, do some stuff around people's ability to relate to one another. Good.
Yeah. So again, think with that mindset. A lot of people don't go from 0 to 100 in like one step.
Right.
Maybe you have a landing page that instead of it's planning their visit to your event, which I'm a fan of a plan your visit funnel, but maybe in this case you do, here's a free resource on how to level up your relationship. 5 steps to level up your relationship this summer. Like maybe it's happening before summer or whatever. And you write a guide based off the content you're about to speak about, because you're a subject matter expert. You're putting all this stuff into practice. You're going to be talking about it forever. Maybe you don't write it. Maybe someone on your team does, or maybe you're a great writer, whatever. But then you put that resource out there for free, and all they got to do to get it, give you your name and email, and that's what you're running attention to. But when they download it, they get the communication flow that does prompt them like, hey, we're doing a 4-week sermon series on this. So if you love this and you want more help leveling up your relationships, come be a part of this series, come be a part of this community that is pursuing this together with you, coming alongside you. Or maybe it's a class you're doing online, or maybe it's a conference. Like that could fit a lot of different types of events. So you're giving away something free of value. And then from there, you're facilitating that communication flow that's like, hey, you should come to this thing that I really want you to come to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Just talking again, this whole thing, I hope you guys hear this, is I think what I'm hearing is just a lot of empathy for the person that we're serving with these events. And and a lot of those that are watching, whether it's even for-profit, nonprofit, especially churches, like you're already doing the heavy lifting of creating really great content as the thought leader. You've put together the message series. Now what you're doing is outlining, let's now set it up so that somebody can experience that same great content out, and even end up at the series or at the big event. I love that. So let's just say we got, you've got all of that ahead, like it's all in place now. Like this is where I want to jump to from the beginning of the conversation. How do we market it? How do we get it out there? How do more people see it, right? Can't you just boost this thing? How do you boost? What does that mean anymore? How do you market this, Andrew?
Yeah. And you'll notice there's like, hey, did you do a post about the men's breakfast or whatever? Like, if you didn't take all these steps, the answer is probably either no, or it's like, yeah, but it's like not going to help at all. Like, so stop throwing your stuff out there into a void, take the steps to do this. But now you're going to launch your efforts. So you did all your messaging and visuals, you put that in some foundational assets that you're going to be driving people back to. You have the strategy in place. Now it's like, let's run it. So to run it, you got to get eyes on it, right? So you got to distribute it. So that can take place in a few different ways. One, before I jump into the digital stuff, is mobilizing your community. So like if you're a church, or even if you're a for-profit and you have an email list, maybe you're a nonprofit, you got a bunch of volunteers, how can you mobilize them to get people they know into this funnel? Again, I say into this funnel, not to this thing, because maybe they do have a few people where it's like, hey, we're doing a sermon series on relationships. You should come with me. And that person will say yes. But I would love instead to empower them. Hey, we have this tool, this landing page where we're giving away 5 steps on how to level up your relationships. Can you get like your friends to like take part in that? You want to share it with people that you care about and want that. So announce that in service, send it to your list, whatever. You want everyone to be putting people into the funnel, because then you are able to help facilitate the journey and make tweaks if something's broken. And also, that's one step for everybody, not here's 8 steps that you may or may not take. So mobilize your audience, and then some efforts that can support that, but also be separate. Organic social. So have an organic social plan leading up to the event that isn't just saying event is coming up in X amount of days. It could be information about the event. So speakers at the thing that people might already care about. I'm a big fan of sharing the value. So like, let's say you have that 5 steps, like opt-in that we were talking about. Take each of those steps and make a social post about them. So if that's people's like kind of entryway into your funnel, they're receiving value right off the bat. And also, again, empowering your community, they want to share that. So that's stuff people actually care about.
Post the value. I think so many times you see people posting like, join this, come to that. And it's like, okay, I'm just scrolling past that actually. But when it's something that's inspiring or intriguing, it's a question that, that others might even share as their own. Right. Like there's not very many people that are going to share the ask, the ad, but they might share the intriguing question or the great insight, or if you're if you're publishing value, your community is more likely to share that value, and you've already done the deep work, like you've talked about, of creating that customer journey. They're going to be able to find you. Yeah,
and even like the posts where you're doing like, this is the event, come to it. I'd say definitely do one of those, like because you're going to have your base that's like, I just want to put the information out there. And it is good from, being clear perspective, but even on like, if you're going to do more than one of those, which I think you should, like maybe have like you have 2 slides. Like one is a hook about like the pain point. So if it's about relationship, it's like, is your marriage on like this might be too intense, but like something a step back from this, like, is your marriage on the rocks? But put something out there. Like maybe there's a common thing that couples fight about that could kind of be fun to put out there. Like, I also think this one's too cheesy, but like, is he always leaving the toilet seat up or whatever? Like something in that vein. So you that
squeeze the toothpaste from the center of the tube or the end.
And just putting the pain point out there, and they're like, oh, and then they swipe and they see the call to action about the event. That will get more attention than just here's the thing. But organic social plan and then paid. So I think
now you got our attention,
because like print media, maybe putting your stuff in movie theaters, those can be good depending on your context. That gets very context specific, but
you can spend a lot of money really quick out there. So give us some tips.
But almost any context this will be applicable to is running social media ads. So I'm a big fan. We're a big fan of Facebook ads. You get a great return on investment. The cost is usually pretty low. There are other platforms. Google, you could do keyword stuff. TikTok is a growing platform. Those are great. And then like maybe if you're a business or you're doing some leadership stuff, you could think about like LinkedIn, or if you're trying to reach creatives, Pinterest. But pretty much in addition to those specific ones, I always love having some Facebook campaigns going. And that's a really easy way to start. We do have some resources on our website that if you want to do it on your own, there's a guide on how to do that, how to do a selfie invite video, set up your campaign, and invite people to your landing page with effective ads. But basically, you just want to think through when people are scrolling, you want to cause intrigue. My go-to is among the pieces of creative you could do some of those graphics you made for organic social. I love having a selfie video. So that's a face, and have it be one of the leaders or main faces of the thing. So of the event, of your church, maybe someone using the product, if it's a product. But have them start with a question like, hey, can I ask you a personal question? Or, hey, what are you doing this weekend? Or something like that. A question, you want the main thing you want to do, that first 3 seconds. So from frame 0, does it cause intrigue? And then can you keep them for 3 seconds? If you do that, they'll most likely at least check out what you have to say. So then you can evaluate from there. Hey, you can look at video watch time. Are people even watching 3 seconds? No, maybe we should, tweak this. And there's going to be a lot of marketing tweaks throughout this. And I want to make sure I throw this out there for everyone. Like marketing is basically just do more of what works, less of what doesn't. So that's all this is going to be. But you could see some results from even like a $5 a day campaign or $100 lifetime campaign. Evaluate your resources and then try to do something like $5 a day at minimum, or if it's $100 budget for ads, maybe just run that for a week. Don't try to stretch it thin. But you can do a lot with Facebook ads.
That reminds me of something. I think one of the things Walt Disney was famous for saying was that half of all of his marketing dollars was a complete waste. The problem was he just didn't know which half. And so, the beauty of all these tools that you're talking about is you can monitor it. So you can see, that's working. Let's do more of that. That's not working as well. Let's do less of that. You can monitor it as you go. What else works though as you're rolling out this campaign?
Yeah. So organic social, paid social, mobilize your community. And then again, there's print, there's other efforts that maybe contextually to your community you could take advantage of. You'll have to think through those. But I would say one thing really keep in mind, and we talk about this a lot with any strategy, with any client, with anyone thinking about a big thing, the big thing isn't the end. Like, what are you doing after that? So at that conversion event, if you do have an email or text message journey leading up to the event, so they sign up, they're going to come to the event, you're sending them some texts or emails like, hey, we're so excited to see you. Maybe you're sending it's a story of someone who's done this before and they really loved it. Maybe it's a link to the FAQ. And then the day of, it's like, hey, it's the big day. We'll see you at such and such time at this location, linking to somewhere with all the information. Well, don't let that be where you stop communicating to them at the event, at the thing, with the product. What are they called to next? So maybe if it's a product, it's an upsell. You can get a nicer product, or this is how you can use it. If it's an event, maybe you're calling them further into your assimilation process. But I think with all those, and some potential next steps that are very nice are, how can you call them into community surrounding this? So again, if it's maybe a leadership conference, you have an online community, people can stay connected with all these awesome people they met and they can keep learning. Next time your event comes around, you have a ton of warm leads that want to sign up for the event. Then they also want to help you promote the event because they think it's awesome. Yeah. And maybe you have some higher dollar ticket items like one-on-one coaching or something after that. You can sell them in the community. Or if it's a product, all these people that use this awesome product and they want to learn from others who use the product, sort of thing. So community, I think, is always great. Some how-tos maybe, or again, if you're a church, you just did a sermon series on relationships. Maybe now you have a few different couples in the church leading relationship life groups or small groups, and you want them to join that, and maybe that's someone's first small group experience, and it's on leveling up their relationships. They're not done yet, and that helps get them into your assimilation funnel where maybe way down the line, they're leading small groups, they're volunteering, they're getting people into your community.
I love that. I mean, when you say it like that, it makes even more sense of what you said a minute ago about how this is really ministry. From again, whether you're for profit or nonprofit, you're doing the difficult work to think and feel like someone else, so that you can lead them somewhere good. And that is going to, and where is that good thing? It's in relationship and it's in community. So you're really thinking about their journey. You're coming alongside right where they're at to bring them somewhere good. And full confession, I've not always been the best at that. Some of the big events we did, it was kind of like, cool, that's done. What's the next big event? And we kind of stopped communicating to everybody who was at that one or helped put that one on, and then went right into the next. What are some ways that you've seen effective to like mitigate that, kind of ramp up to a big thing and then it just goes away, all communication goes away, ramp up to the next big thing, and so on? Well,
one thing you'll probably notice that we didn't really talk about much is we didn't really talk about timeline at all in this. And you're thinking like, man, this is a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot.
And I think we'll talk about timeline here in a second, but how can you mitigate that? Having regular rhythms, communication rhythms, this both for your team and then expectations for your community. And that way the people outside your community, all they're seeing are these different on-ramps to funnels you have to get to the center of your community, of your product, of your thing quicker.
Which, all of those on-ramps are all about them, right? Their felt needs and answering their questions. And something that I have learned, hopefully I'm learning it, at ArtSpeak, we try to promote it. I think we've done a whole video on it. It says you can either plan ahead or you can burn out people. And if you're just ramping constantly up to the next big thing, I think you're creating an environment where, especially if it's last minute, and again, full confession, I've planned big events with not enough time to make it a fun thing to put together for those who are putting it together. So you can either plan ahead or you can burn out people. We're talking about a lot of time. The depth of putting together a great thing to promote that you just took us through. That's a long time frame, right? So let's just imagine it takes 4 weeks from the time everything's in place. And now we're going to promote this thing. We're going to talk about this thing because we want people to come to the thing or buy the thing or download the thing. What kind of timeline are we talking about? So that we can be empathetic, but create healthy rhythms to get us to that place.
Yeah. Well, like you're saying, like from the big thing, so buy the product, attend the event, whatever. At minimum, like 2 weeks promote before the thing. Okay. And I think that is when you do the hardest push, but really I like to see 4 weeks, maybe 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the scale of it.
Yeah.
And then like conferences, even maybe like 6 to 8 weeks. So this scales, like if it is a smaller event, maybe it doesn't need as long as a timeline, doesn't need as much discovery. It's pretty apparent value. Great. That's a smaller lead time on doing this. So you need to know the scale of the events you're doing. Maybe you categorize those.
That's good.
This is the really big ones. These are the medium ones. These are the small ones, whatever. And you know the lead time it'll take on each. But yeah, like let's say it's 4 weeks for a big one that you want to spend promoting it. Well, to do that, you probably have 4 weeks of putting all the foundational stuff in place. To put the foundational stuff in place, build a landing page, write the journey, set it all up so this all automates. You're not spending time like moving things around manually. You can schedule all your social media posts, all that stuff. You're just running the plan. Well, before those 4 weeks, you're probably spending another 4 weeks. Here's the event that we're talking about. It's very valuable. Here's the 2 to 3 weeks on the messaging and the visual feel. So that can easily add up to 12 to 16 weeks before the thing if it's really big. Or if it's smaller, maybe it's 2 weeks and then 4 weeks before that. 2 weeks before that. So that's more like 8 weeks. So anywhere from 8 to 16 weeks out.
Yeah. So you're like, oh man, you might be watching me thinking, oh, should I be planning for Christmas in July? Yeah. Yes, actually that would that'd be great. Yeah. Yeah. How do you lead a team that helps our clients plan ahead?
Yeah.
And make sure all of those pieces are in place. What are some of the rhythms and habits that you guys encourage or help our clients put in place so that doesn't feel forced? It feels very natural.
Yeah. Well, one thing I'd do as an organization, think through the rhythms of your entire year. Like if you're a church, Christmas and Easter, they happen at the same time every year, just about like same season. It's not a surprise. So those are really easy ones. July, you're thinking about Christmas. January, or maybe you could think about it in December or November. That might be a little hard, but at least January you're thinking about Easter. But think through your normal rhythms. There's probably like 3 to 6 seasons of your organization. So maybe again, if you're a church, there's fall launch for school and life groups and all that stuff. There's the holiday season leading up to Christmas. At the start of the year, there's the setting healthy habits or vision series stuff, and probably a life group relaunch, small group relaunch.
Yeah.
Then there's Easter to summer, and then there's summer. So that could be 4 to 6 seasons. Now you can build rhythms. Okay, we know X amount of weeks out from those things, we're doing this big event, or we want to start having our brand and messaging feel this way at this time. So have a communication calendar, have communication rhythms, get together as a team. So one thing I did when I was on staff at a church was we had like the rhythms quarterly meetings with all the team leads, all the ministry leads, and we would, together, they've submitted all their info. Now you've ranked all of their things by priority, just on the scale, how many people it's going to reach. And now together, you've made a calendar and you know where you're designating your organization's resource. But you're doing that together and everyone's agreeing. Because if this ministry and this ministry both think their thing is the biggest thing of the church, either they need to collaborate or maybe some senior leadership needs to help set the priority. Because you only have so many resources. And again, it's all about people. This is all about people, the people you're reaching, the people on your team. So how can you be wise? How can you plan ahead? Not just so your team can be healthy, which on its own is very important, but also you're not going to be effective if they're not healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, so good, Andrew. Thank you so much. Andrew leads the ongoing creative support team at ArtSpeak, where we get the opportunity to come alongside creatives and visionaries and leaders, both in the church world, but even as you're talking about the rhythms, I mean, that would play right into even business leaders. There's natural rhythms, natural seasons. And there's just a lot of resource. I know we don't even have time to unpack some seasonal branding and all the cool stuff that you guys are developing. But what we do have right now on our website at artspeakcreative.com is an opportunity for you to connect with one of the consultants that help clients think through these things. So if you're like, man, help me talk through my next big event or my next big calendar thing, there's an opportunity there to connect for free with one of our team consultants. But we also have an online community. So if you're watching this and you're a creative and you're thinking this, I need more help. I need more planning. I need more resources like this. Don't do creative alone. All right. So Andrew has been a champion among us, launched a phenomenal online community for creatives. It's community.artspeakcreative.com. Lean in. You can post your own stuff for feedback. There's ongoing live stuff happening, videos and more videos like this being posted all the time. We look forward to being a part of what's happening in your life, in your ministry, and in your business.